Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals and I'm predicting their record for the 2021 NFL season. But before getting to that topic, question for those of you viewing, comment down below what your prediction is for the Cincinnati Bengals in this upcoming season. What record do you think they'll be? Think it'll be good enough for the playoffs? Do you think they'll be in a similar spot this year? Overall, comment down below your thoughts on their record. And of course, remember there is a 17th game now. That will be against the 49ers. But getting into the beginning of it, I have just a side note and disclaimer, none of these games have set dates, but these are the announced teams they will be playing home and away, but the exact date and times are not set and chosen yet. So just going over the team, so things can change. But first game on my list, I have the Baltimore Ravens at home for the Cincinnati Bengals. For me, they're taking a loss right off the bat. Over the past few years, Lamar Jackson has absolutely dominated the Bengals on defense, and as great as Joe Burrow is, he's not going to be tackling Lamar Jackson on the other side of the football. I like Joe Burrow, and I think in 2, 3, 4 years, could become the best quarterback in that division. Big Ben will be gone. Lamar might finally start losing just a little bit of speed. He'll still probably be 27, but you know what I mean. I just think by that time, Joe Burrow can evolve into the best quarterback in that division. But as of today, Lamar Jackson is the most electric quarterback in that division, and I think he's going to run all over the Bengals defense. So I have the Bengals taking a loss right off the bat against Lamar. Moving on, Cleveland Browns at home as well for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I have the Bengals losing again. And just a disclaimer for those of you viewing, you're not going to be happy with the records I gave the Bengals. They're just not a great team all around. That doesn't mean they won't win anything. But for the Browns game specifically, the Bengals are just outmatched completely. Quarterback, I think Joe Burrow in time, like Lamar Jackson, will be better than Baker. But right now, Baker's proven more, and Joe Burrow is coming off an injury, and we don't know if he will be the same. It's assumed he will be, but we don't know until he sets foot on the football field and we can see him play. But even outside of him, Browns have the best backfield in the NFL. Browns have the highest paid offensive line in the NFL. Browns have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Austin Hooper, David Njoku. Receiving core is absolutely stout. Top 5 when healthy, possibly. Bengals, yeah, they got T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Auden Tate, and they might go after receiver in the draft, but they're not going to top the Browns. And then on defense, you got Myles Garrett and you got Denzel Ward holding down the secondary, and now they got backup as well. You know, Denzel Ward got Troy Hill and John Johnson. Myles Garrett got Malik Jackson to Karis McKinley. In the Bengals, Jesse Bates, Von Bell, Trey Waynes. That's a solid secondary, especially with Jesse Bates coming back and being healthy, but Denzel Ward and the Browns, I think all around, every aspect of Browns beat the Bengals. I think it'll be a dominant game, division game. It won't be fun for the Browns because it's a division game, and Joe Burrow, like I said, is good, but Browns just dominate too much. So another win to the Browns and another loss to the Bengals, starting 0-2 for me. However, they will get their first win here at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw the Bengals beat the Steelers last year, and that was on their 11-0 run. Bengals didn't ruin their 11-0 streak, but they beat them right after the Washington football team or a few weeks after. Either way, they beat the Steelers last year, and in my opinion, the Bengals will be better and the Steelers will be worse, giving the Bengals a good chance to beat the Steelers at home. It won't be a fun game for Joe Burrow. The Steelers have a top 5 defense, but I do have him stealing a win against the old man, Big Ben. So they are 1-2 currently. However, going to play the Green Bay Packers in Cincinnati still, but it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Devontae Adams, it's Aaron Jones. One of the best trios in NFL offensively. Like I said, I like Jesse Bates and Von Bell, but they're not going to shut down Devontae Adams, the number 1 receiver in the game, and Joe Burrow. I like him in the future, but he's not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off an MVP season, and Joe Burrow, who's coming off an injury season. Things could change, but overall, even if Joe Burrow is on the same level as Aaron Rodgers all around, I think the Packers, and that's a miracle if Joe Burrow's on the same level as Aaron Rodgers, but all around, I think the Packers outmatch them every aspect of the roster and coaching staff as well. I like LaFleur over Zach Taylor, so Packers taking a win. Jacksonville Jaguars, though, we're going to see a rematch between Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, assumingly so, after they played against each other in the college football championship 2 years ago, or 1 year ago, 2 years by the time this happens. So that will be a fun rematch, but I do think Joe Burrow will have the edge and take a win from Trevor Lawrence in this one and be 2-0 on them in their biggest games when they played each other. So that is a good pickup for Joe Burrow. I do think their roster is just as comparable to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Jaguars have a lot more question marks. We don't know what Trevor Lawrence will be. We don't know how Urban Meyer will be. We're coaching them. And the Jaguars, they were the worst team in the NFL last year. Bengals weren't far behind them, but I think having a roster that is used to this quarterback and having Joe Burrow having some more reps in the NFL than Trevor Lawrence, I just think that little bit of experience and already leading a team in the NFL will be enough of an edge to outduel Trevor Lawrence in their first matchup in the NFL. So I got the Bengals taking that game. Moving on, Kansas City Chiefs. don't know if there's much to say in this one. Chiefs are one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think they're going to take a dominant win over Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Yeah, I could go in depth, but we know who the Chiefs are. Chargers, this is a good one. Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert, first match against each other in the NFL. Last year, week 1, we saw the Chargers and Bengals play each other, but Tyrod Taylor was starting for the Chargers, so we missed out on Herbert versus Burrow. However, when they match up for the first time, I have Justin Herbert taking the edge. Whoever you want at quarterback, between the quarterback matchup, if you like Herbert, that's fine. If you like Burrow, that's fine. It doesn't matter. They're very comparable, and you can't go wrong either way. But outside of those two, I think the Chargers have a better receiving core. Brandon Staley hasn't even coached, and I think he'll be better than Zach Taylor. Offensive line, Chargers have a lot of new pieces, and they have to click together, but I do think it'll be better than the Bengals. However, if they go out and get Penny Sewell, that can change. So offensive line, that's a scratch. For receiving core and coaching staff, I'm giving to the Chargers. And defense, I'm giving to the Chargers. I'm taking Derwin James over Jesse Bates, and I'm taking Joey Bosa over Trey Hendrickson. I just like the Chargers all around. I think they're going to beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Moving on, Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are going to have a pretty good defense this year. They had one last year, but it was banged up. If this is the primetime game, Monday night, Sunday night, scratch it. Kirk Cousins is losing, but not knowing that right now and assuming it's just a typical game, I'm going with the Vikings. They have a great run game with Dalvin Cook. Receiving core is good. We saw how good Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow's old teammate, is. Adam Thielen's always reliable. They like Irv Smith, their tight end. And like I said, the defense, adding Patrick Peterson, it's going to be very good, and the Bengals won't be able to go toe-to-toe. I think it'll be a competitive game because Kirk Cousins, he's not going to go out and give you 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and 0 picks. He's going to be efficient, but Joe Burrow, he could go out there and give you 400 yards, 4 touchdowns in a fight, but I still have him losing. I think Joe Mixon, if he's healthy, is going to be one of the better backs in the league, but he's not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Dalvin Cook. Moving on to the 49ers, this was the 17th game of the season, but it's at home for the Bengals. I have them losing. Top 5 defense in the Niners. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, top guys at their position. Nick Bosa is probably top 5 defensive end at his position, and Fred Warner is probably a top 5 linebacker. That's enough said. Niners probably be facing Jimmy G, depending on what time of the season this is and who they draft in the NFL draft and if they liked him at quarterback. But Kyle Shanahan offense versus Zach Taylor, who might be on the hot seat. I just like the Niners. I know what I'm getting out of them. And George Kittle, top 3 tight end. Brandon Ayuk, an underrated receiver. Deebo Samuel, speedy guy. Raheem Mostert when he's healthy. And Nick Bosa is probably going to sack Joe Burrow, Hopefully he doesn't hurt him. But I got the Niners in a dominant game. The defense is too good. Offense is too consistent. Bengals, I feel like a lot of their team is a variable. So at home, I do have them finishing right around 2-7. Not a great start at home, but away games are still to go. Away against the Ravens, I've already kind of made my claim. I think the Ravens will sweep them. Lamar Jackson's just way too electric. On defense, I like their secondary. Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters. I don't know if T. Higgins, Auden Tate, and Tyler Boyd can outmatch those boys. I think it'll be a good battle, especially when Joe Burrow's throwing a new ball. It'll be fun to watch, but Lamar Jackson on the ground is just too dangerous for the Bengals to handle. I got the Bengals losing that game. Against the Browns, same thing as before. Home or away doesn't change anything when you face a Browns dominant team that's almost flawless in every aspect of their team. So Browns taking another win over the Bengals. Bengals against the Steelers, I had them beaten at home, but when you're facing them in Pittsburgh, that is a different thing. I think they'll split it with the Steelers. TJ Watt will be lethal. Minka Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden. They lost Steven Nelson and they lost Bud Dupree, but they still got, like I said, TJ Watt, Joe Hayden, Minka Fitzpatrick, Devin Bush. The defense is still top 7, top 8, and Big Ben, he's going to struggle, but the receiving core can help him out. Juju Smith, Chase Claypool, I hope they get a run game. Bengals, Steelers, it will be a tough game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals, sweep them. If we just have to see how bad Big Ben's going to take a drop-off in his career, but I do think they will split the series, and Steelers take this game. Chicago Bears, this will be a tough one. Joe Burrow's going to face a top defense, Eddie Jackson, Khalil Mack. That's going to be a tough defense. Danny Trevathan. However, Joe Burrow just completely outmatches Andy Dalton, and I have no faith in the Bears making that move at Andy Dalton. I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one, just strictly due to the quarterback matchup. Both of these coaches have a good chance of being on the hot seat. We know Matt Nagy is, but I don't know about Zach Taylor. There's a good chance he's on a hot seat if he has a terrible season, but we will see. I just like the quarterback matchup a lot here in Joe Burrow's favor, so they get a win there. Moving on to the Denver Broncos. If Drew Lock's the same guy he was last year, I could see the Bengals stealing win, but I think he will improve, or they'll draft a quarterback that puts them in a better position. And outside the quarterback position, the Broncos have a solid team. The receiving core's got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and a reliable Noah Fant. The defense has a great pass rush and Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and that's enough pass rush alone. You don't even got to mention the other guys, and that's still dangerous for any quarterback. And then the secondary, they might have one of the most lockdown secondaries in the NFL if these guys can find their prime selves again. Between Justin Simmons, Ronald Darby, Kareem Jackson, Bryce Callaway, you signed Kyle Fuller from the Bears. That secondary is on lockdown, and I just think this Broncos team will improve at quarterback some way or another, and I do think they will beat the Bengals. Moving on to the Detroit Lions, though, Bengals getting a win here. You guys know, if you watch the channel, I'm not a fan of Jared Goff, and I think he's going to do awful in Detroit. I think they'll be fighting for a top 3 NFL draft pick, and the Bengals might be there with them, but I do think the quarterback matchup, just like against the Bears, Joe Burrow just completely outmatches Jared Goff. Lions don't have a lot all around. Their receiving core fell apart. They lost Kenny Galladay. They lost Marvin Jones Jr. They lost Danny Amendola. They got T.J. Hawkinson and Rashad Perryman to throw to. On defense, Jeff Okuda's not living up to what he was as the number 3 overall corner, or number 3 overall pick in the draft and number 1 corner in the draft in 2020. Lions are just falling apart. I think they might be able to turn things around in the future with their draft capital, but right now I think in the quarterback matchup, I have to go with Joe Burrow stealing the win here. Las Vegas Raiders, I have the Bengals beating the Raiders. Derek Carr's a top 15 quarterback, but Joe Burrow, if he's the same guy he was last year, he's also a top 15 quarterback. So they're pretty even. John Gruden, he's a little but I do think he's better than Zach Taylor. Defensively, the Raiders have nothing, and the Bengals aren't strong either, but they did sign Trey Hendrickson, and I like their secondary between Trey Waynes, Von Bell, and a healthy Jesse Bates, one of the top safeties in the league. I like the Bengals overall, and the Raiders kind of falling apart on their offensive line, making some questionable moves. You know, just letting go of Rodney Hudson practically, but re-signing Richie Incognito as some questionable moves, and they don't have a great receiving core between Henry Ruggs, John Brown, Willie Snead, Darren Waller. He's an X-factor, top 3 tight end, but I like the Bengals here. They outmatch them in most aspects, or in enough aspects to make it a close game, and when it comes down to the quarterback, it's close enough, but I'm going to give Joe Burrow the edge if he's the same guy last year. So the Bengals getting a win. Then the Jets. This is a big variable team. We don't know who's starting. Are they going with Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson? Are they trading for Deshaun? Are they going with Trey Lance? A lot of options here. But I'm going to go with the team that knows who their quarterback is in Joe Burrow. We know who Zach Taylor is. He might be the guy and he might not be. I keep saying he's on the hot seat, but he could turn the Bengals around. I could be wrong. But Robert Saleh, we don't know what he is. So with the amount of variables on the Jets, I do like what they did, signing Carl Lawson from the Bengals, getting Corey Davis. I think they're improving, and they have a lot to go still. They still have 2 first-round picks, but as of right now, I like the Bengals to beat the Jets. And overall, I have them finishing 6 and 11. I think they're improving, and this draft could change things. You know, if they go out and draft Jamar Chase, and he turned out to be what Justin Jefferson was for the Vikings, this could be a team that fights for 7, 8, 9 wins, but they can't make the playoffs, in my opinion. In your own division, you're facing the Browns, who I think have a top 3 roster, the Ravens, who has the most electric quarterback in the NFL, and Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers, who have a top 7 defense. Overall, I like the Bengals long term, but this year is just way too soon. Joe Burrow's coming off an injury, and I just don't see enough clicking together to them be a serious playoff team. 6 and 11 sounds about right to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I just don't think it. I just think it's way too soon for this Bengals team to make a playoff push, especially in that division. AFC North is probably the 2nd toughest division in the NFL. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. 2MinuteWarning.